Beautiful. There we go. Let's all take a breath in and let it out. Together again, breath in and let it out. And one more time, power of 3, strong, steady breath. And let it out. Beautiful. Just a couple of reminders to participate in this Selling Success Masterclass. One, you'll be raising your digital hand to step forward with a thought, a comment, or a question. You can find that digital hand down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, clicking on reactions and the raise hand emoji. And when you step forward, you'll be sharing your introduction, which is your name, where you're zooming in from, and your current leadership track. And you might want to write that down, especially when it comes to talking about selling. Mine can get a little loopy. So your name, where you're zooming in from, and your leadership track. So where I'd love to start is I'd like to hear from 2 people, just to start us off, with what did you receive from Lorna's guided mindful movement? So what did you receive from Lorna's guided mindful movement for yourself? I'd like to hear from 2 members. Raise your digital hand, your name, where you're zooming in from, and your leadership track. Who'd like to start us off? Stephanie, thank you so much.
Yes, I'm Stephanie. I'm calling in from Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I'm in the professional leadership track. And what I really took away was how good it felt to actually move. Because we sit so long in front of our computers all the time, and I just really enjoyed stretch. I feel like I was stretching and getting in my body, and I could see how it would affect my ability to use my voice. Like just being back in my body can allow me to tap into what I meant to say in that moment.
Beautiful. Yes, I would really agree with that. Absolutely. And especially since the pandemic, the movement of our body is directly connected to privilege of agency, meaning we can't just rely on all of the social happenings as they were pre-pandemic. And the beauty of being a highly sensitive entrepreneur and leader is that you have privilege of agency and the choice all the time of when you are going to insert and create mindful movement as part of your support routine throughout the day. One of the things that I clocked is less than 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. And that was a beautiful result that you just shared. So thank you for that, Stephanie. Jen, number 2, what did you receive?
Yeah, Jen Schultz, Austin, Texas, in the visionary leadership track. And for me, what I appreciate about it is, and always when we do mindful movement, is the slowness of it. That when you're moving your body and doing these stretches, no matter how maybe easy they may be, the slowness of them for me really connects me to myself and helps me, I would use the term ground down. And I personally feel that that's something that I'm consciously working on, or in a time of my life where I am looking to ground down, feel more flow, ease, and calm.
Yes, yes, beautifully said. The way that Lorna teaches mindful movement is intentionally created to calm the nervous system. So I would take a moment to write that down. That is the impact of that slow, intentional movement. So then the next step when it comes to selling and or any other areas in your business, work, life that tend to up your anxiety, those are the places to insert mindful movement. And I would write that down too. And again, privilege of agency. you can create that. Less than 5 minutes. Beautiful. So I'll take a breath in and let it out. And now connect into this question. Where do you need support when it comes to using your voice when it comes to selling? And I'll say that again. Where do you need support when it comes to using your voice right now when it comes to selling? And when you're ready, raise your digital hand and let's dive in. Let's start off with Elle.
Hi, I am Elle Zimmerman from Cincinnati, and I'm in the visionary track. So that's a really relevant question for me right now, because I do feel that I have gained clarity. And it's really just come in the last 3 to 4 months, not surprisingly. And I still am tripped up when the question I get asked is, so what do you do? Because I feel like I do so much and I don't want to limit what I say about myself. So I tend to say, I do a lot of stuff, and I just basically don't answer. So I would love support on how to, and what's funny is that I teach people how to do their pitch and how to do their presentation of themselves and their business. But for some reason, I'm afraid of limiting the description I give myself.
Yeah, love this question for multiple reasons. So first of all, the question, so what do you do, is an obnoxious, socialized, default question. And let's all write that down. And here's why I'm asking you to write it down, because we are so entrained socially to believe that that question is valuable, when that question is not valuable at all. And most of the time, the people asking it are not even connected to the actual ask of the question. Similar to the question of, how are you? Most people don't really want you to answer. And most people asking the question, so what do you do, are managing their own unconscious social anxiety. So why is this important for us to remember? Because as highly sensitives, and especially that we tend to be deep thinkers and deep listeners and deep feelers, as we get asked a question and we're like, oh my gosh, I have to answer this question to the fullest ability of my honesty and deepest integrity so that I will not go to hell at the end of my highly sensitive tenure here. When in truth, none of that applies. And so to take this opportunity to inquire for yourself, what am I most interested in when someone asks me that question? What's my intention? So as you take those questions to inquiry, what can become available is a way to respond differently, which is everything we're about here, including calling out the obnoxiousness of that question in a way that's, not going to be confrontational unless it happens to be something you're interested in. But it might just be like, oh, wow, I find that question so interesting. And I usually find it really difficult to answer because it's kind of a broad question. So tell me, what are you most interested in knowing? And I promise I will answer fully and honestly. Or, oh, that's such an interesting question. I know that I think you are in fill in the blank business. So I have a lot of skills. Tell me what would be most valuable for you to hear about. Or, gosh, there's so many ways to answer that question. I could tell you who I am as a woman. I could tell you who I am as a mother. I could tell you who I am as a business person, as a best friend. Pick your door. Which one do you want today? What do you hear in my model and share, Elle?
Well, first of all, I just love it. And it just really takes control of it. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it more just, it challenges them to be clearer, and then it offers me the opportunity to do it the way I want to do it. So it's, yeah, that's really,
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
good.
And this is the call for us as highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders right now across the board. So this is a beautiful example that connects back to our last couple of weeks of weekly training roundtables. Again, privilege of agency, again, courage of conviction, and to stop playing the socialized pre-pandemic game. Don't go back. Don't go back.
I'll just add one other thing. It allows me to have power rather than what I was feeling as weakness.
That's right. That's
Mhm.
right. Which is a shift for us as highly sensitives. It is part of the retraining. And then it therefore is part of selling success. The mistake that so many highly sensitives make when going into the selling conversation, one-on-one, one-to-many, etc., is we default to that shadow space, especially that shadow space of empathy, which is I'm going to wait to see what I'm picking up, and then I'll respond, or more so react, which means I am beholden to everyone and all of the energy around me. And that's not leadership.
Mhm.
Beautiful question, Elle.
Thank you.
So much. Yes, absolutely. Let's go to Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa from Ohio, and I'm in the advanced marketing track. And my question is, I had a continuing client conversation, and it was a two-part. She did her letter to the universe, and she didn't receive a sign. And so she said that I'd been really supportive and helped her make 2 significant changes. And so I thought, well, how do I ask for a testimonial? I don't want to ask. I know I should, but I feel afraid to ask for a testimonial.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful question. So much here. So just as a reminder, before I respond to Lisa, is everything that we're covering in this masterclass, you can find in expanded, deeper training versions in all of the, well, not all of that, but in the leadership tracks, and will help direct you if needed, as needed. And as each member steps forward in these masterclass sessions, be listening with the ears of how does this apply to me? So for example, with Elle, maybe you don't have a problem when someone asks you the question, so what do you do? But you do with a different type of question, right? Maybe you haven't had this issue with continuing client conversations, but there is going to be some way that this situation that Lisa just brought forward applies to you. So just a reminder. So Lisa, I so appreciate this question so much on so many levels, because we have multiple opportunities for learning here. So we have the opportunity of learning when it comes to a continuing client conversation. We have the opportunity for learning when it comes to a continuing client and or a prospect saying that they didn't receive a sign or didn't have a response to the assignment that you gave them as part of the two-part process. And then we also have the opportunity of asking for a testimonial. So since asking for a testimonial is your original question, I'm going to start there, but then I'm going to take advantage of all the other richness in your ask. So first, when it comes to asking for a testimonial, you're saying that you don't want to. Tell me why.
I don't, it seems like an imposition or something.
An imposition of what?
For the client.
And why is that?
Because I personally don't like writing testimonials. I have a hard time putting the words together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to put that on them.
So then what I'm hearing is you're making the assumption that your experience is someone else's experience. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
So what would help us get clear of whether that actually is the case or not?
I could ask her.
And what would you be asking specifically then?
Would you be interested in, if my work's impacted you, would you like to write a testimonial for me?
Yep, great. So a couple of things right there is really, really valuable when it comes to selling, no matter what part of the process we just happen to be talking about right now, after a continuing client has chosen not to continue to ask for a testimonial. But through any part of the selling success, it is not our place to assume. Please write that down. It is not our place to assume anything. And this directly connects to the mindful movement and the practice of using your voice, because the counter to assumption is to use your voice to ask for clarity. Let's write that down. So then that points to a couple of things. One, oh gosh, I still have trouble using my voice. That makes me super, super nervous. That's a signal as a place to develop a core practice. So if that happens to be you, my recommendation for Lisa, for any of you, would be look at your 4 cues, and where in your 4 cues are you being directed to develop a practice of utilizing your voice so that it's happening every single week. There's some way, again, if it brings something up in you when you hear me say that, then most likely there's an indicator on your 4 cues that's asking you to create a practice. So Lisa, what might that practice look like for you?
Well, on my first Q1, it says speaking, and I haven't understood what that means. So,
Am I right or am I right? Can we all
Yeah.
just do a little, come on, come on.
So I'm not sure what a practice would be.
Okay, so then the next place that you go to is OFTU for clarity. OFTU, developing a core practice to strengthen the use of my voice. And that OFTU will direct you through helping you get clear on what that practice is meant to look like for you, so that it's something that you want and that you're willing to engage in. So let's have that as an action for you as part of your 4 cues for the upcoming week, is to do that OFTU under speaking in Q1, okay? From there, a couple of practical aspects regarding asking for testimonials, especially if it's something that you tend to hesitate around. My high recommendation would be that you can put together a template, and we do share this in the leadership training tracks, a template that makes it easy to ask for testimonials, that just allows your clients to fill in the blank. So it takes some of the pressure off of like, oh, what do I say? How do I say it all? And you just create a template. You can use the one that we provide in the leadership training tracks, or just use the one that we provide and adapt it so that it feels just a little bit more aligned for you if that's something that you need to. And then you just build it right into your continuing client process, whether a continuing client continues or not. How's that, Lisa?
That's good.
What are you taking away so far?
I'm taking away that I have to use my voice to clarify instead of make assumptions.
Beautiful. That's going to strengthen not only your selling, not only your work with your clients, but every aspect of business and life as a highly sensitive entrepreneur and leader. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to ignore those other opportunities that I highlighted from Lisa's ask, but I'm also not going to go in depth because I do see other hands raised. What I am going to do is make the connection to the use of the voice. So if a continuing client has chosen not to continue, that is an indicator for assessment. And as part of the assessment, to get clear about 2 really important things for yourself. One is more of a zoom in, which is was I interested in continuing with this client? And the second is a zoom out, which is, am I committed to long-term work with my clients? Some of us are meant to work long-term, some of us are not. If you are, and your clients are not continuing, then that is an indicator for skill development on your behalf to go deeper in your continuing client conversations, including accessing inquiry with your client regarding their decision. It's not always just a simple, oh, okay, you don't want to continue. Often, not always, but often that is an indicator of an area of resistance and a block for the client. And in all honesty, by you just saying, oh, okay, no need to continue, most likely you're sending them off to continue to repeat a pattern of only going so far for themselves until they hit that same resistance, though it shows up in different ways. And then they go somewhere else. They work with another practitioner. They work with another consultant. They join another program. They go in that practitioner consultant program until they hit that resistance. And then their whole life, they're never going to go beyond. So which role do you want to play? It's an opportunity, right? Looks different for each and every one of us. Questions to inquire. Auto writing if needed to help and support. And look at your 4 Qs. Are you being asked to go deeper and further when it comes to continuing client conversations or other areas where you tend to just quickly and easily back off? So I'll take a breath in and let it out. From there, let's go to Helen.
Hi, everybody. Helen Newby. I'm zooming in from North Lake Tahoe, California, and I'm in the relationship track. I guess my ask is kind of like Elle. I have issues with that question, but then also with just like in everyday conversation when people say, what are you up to? What have you been up to? And those are perfect opportunities for me to tell them exactly what I've been up to and to sell them myself and what I have to offer. And I find myself getting trapped in that shadow of perfectionism because I don't know if it's like, I'm not sure if I'm totally ready or if I'm doubting myself that I can't come through for them, or, I don't feel like everything's perfectly set up. So I just don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I so want to. I want to more than anything. I so want to be ready. I so want to take advantage of those little opportunities every single day. But somehow for some reason, I'm not. And I so want to get over that hump because I feel like as soon as I get over that hump, then things are gonna rain, things are gonna happen. And then I can just get kind of caught up in that, the day to day and doing what I know I can do. But for some reason, I can't get over that is it lack of confidence? Is it, what is it? So that's my ask. Somebody, I need some work. I need some help. So
yes, it's a great ask. The first thing that stands out to me is that the universe, use whatever language you want, continues to give you these opportunities. That's really important to pay attention to. So that's the first question to take to auto writing for yourself. Why do I feel it is my choice, or why am I making the choice to ignore these opportunities or dismiss, finesse the language for yourself, and to really ask that question, right? And not from a place of beating up on self, but from a place of being able to use that inquiry and to create a deeper connection to what that is about for you. Because I can speak to the surface aspect that we all share as highly sensitives, which is if I've heard the situation that you just described one time, I've literally heard it a million times, including having experienced it myself. It is very, very common scenario for those of us who are highly sensitive. It connects to that shadow of perfectionism. It connects to that shadow of overprotection. Those two shadows are intertwined very intimately. The belief in the misnomer of perfectionism is an attempt to protect ourselves from ever possibly becoming overwhelmed or ever possibly even more so being hurt. And for most of us, it is connected to a former experience of trauma that is related to our highly sensitive nature. Whatever that might have been for each and every one of us. There was one time or many times where we found ourselves called out, frozen like a deer in headlights, words caught in our throat, breaking out in a sweat, mistakenly farting in front of your crush in 7th grade. Maybe that was just me. Whatever it might be, right? It's like we put all of it into this moment of, hey, so what are you up to? Right?
Right.
So that's, again, that perfectionism, that overprotection, but more importantly is the recognition of like, wow, the universe keeps giving me these opportunities. Why do I continue to close the door? And then that question will help you get more intimately connected to what it is most personally for you. And then from that deeper space of inquiry, you can begin to work with the training on B&B, visibility and vulnerability as a practice. And now this is multiple times that I've used that word so far in this session, which is practice. And from a zoom out perspective, it's really, really valuable for all of us to make the neural pathway connection of selling as practice. And I would write that down. Selling as practice. So to this day, and now I've been self-employed for almost 20 years, and I've just gone through the gamut of those early days where it was just like I would have to change my clothes multiple times in a day from having selling conversations because I would just sweat through my clothes so profusely every single time. Like that's where I started. And still to this day, when I connect for a selling conversation, I go into a selling conversation now with a sense of curiosity and excitement, but still from the space of what am I going to learn? What am I going to learn? What am I going to learn about this person that I'm connecting with? What am I going to learn about myself? What am I going to learn about the work? What am I going to learn about, up-leveling the highly sensitive selling success conversation? All of it. It is an ongoing, till you decide to close your business doors, practice. So therefore, it'll never be perfect. So for you, Helen, I would recommend that auto writing around that question regarding the opportunities. And then I would recommend that you begin a BTT on the limiting belief that your business, your materials, whatever it might be, fill in the blank, can possibly be perfect, because that is a limiting belief. And then as part of that BTT, identifying, connecting into what an ideal belief is, and then the next baby step belief is part of that. I'd like to see you start a master post, a BTT master post on the forum. And then the third step is to look at how that BTT connects in with your 4 Qs, because they're most likely interrelated. What do you hear?
Well, as you were talking too, I was just thinking that, those opportunities and those conversations, they're kind of like an opportunity too for me to like tap into my intuition and to read that person that's face to face with me, and to, like you said, they ask that question, what do you do? But do they really care? I mean, do they really want that answer? But it's the same thing when someone says, how have you been? What you been up to? How much how much of that do they really want you to answer?
Mhm.
Just being able to read that person using your intuition to,
Yes.
kind of give them what they're looking for, but also in a way that serves you and your business, and that you're moving forward and getting yourself out there.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%, 100%. So if you want to take on more, and if not, that's totally fine. And again, look to your 4 cues where this might apply, would be to start to track those conversations.
Mhm.
Like, oh, got asked today. Oh, got asked and responded today. Oh, got asked, didn't respond today. Didn't get asked today, right?
And see the patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful. How do you see
Okay,
that this
thank
will be
you.
helpful? You're welcome.
Yes,
How do you see
thank
it will
you.
be helpful?
I just think that it will be helpful in gaining my confidence to really say what I want to say what I
That's
need
right.
to say what I need to
That's
say.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Especially when it comes to the power of the voice, the use of the voice, and any aspect. But when it comes to selling, this is always important for all of us to remember. The skill will never be built alone behind your computer or sitting with your journal. It just won't. The very best place that we can be in practice and in service is in connection with others. We're not meant to be royal advisors to our journals. Just take a breath in and let it out. We've got just about 3 minutes remaining. So Fidelma, let me do a check-in with you. Do you sense this is a 3-minuter or more? You tell me.
It could be.
All right, let's
I'm
give it a go.
Fidelma. I'm Fidelma calling from Dublin, and I'm on the relationship track. And I've opened up my circle of purpose, and I have 4 people in it. Woohoo! And now that I have it open, I want to make sure I don't over deliver so that they don't come and join my programs. So it's to balance, to be able to give them support, and it's going to be fine tuning that, because they're coming in at one at a time now at the moment, because it's early days. So it's been able to position my clarity calls then in that circle of purpose. I tried today, but it didn't really work well.
Yes, I would recommend looking at the training on presentations. I believe it's in the advanced marketing track. You can just email member care and they'll help direct you. But in that training, I teach and walk you through how to do exactly that, which is to speak to the what, the why, and just give a sliver of the how and give a strong call to action. And that's basically what your circle of purpose is on a little bit of a smaller scale, right? But to not be delivering the full how every time you're connecting with the members of that circle, right? So the powerful effect of a marketing presentation, which is basically what you're describing, Fidelma, is to give just enough that people aren't overwhelmed, but they're also interested in what's next. How do I take this further? That's the balance that we're looking for.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
I may have gone over the balance today. I didn't, because I was given she was asking me direct questions, so I was answering her questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, very similar to what we were just talking about with Helen, it's a great place to practice.
Yes,
it's a great place to practice in how to answer questions depending on the environment and situation without giving too much, not only from a marketing next step perspective, but also from an educational process perspective. So very similar to like what I was talking about with Lisa, right? Where we develop the skill of not just giving in when someone hits their resistance, it is a skill to develop, not overwhelming people with so much information that it actually prevents their learning and transformational process.
Yeah, I like that. I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
Right.
Heather.
So back to that training on presentations. I sense that will be very helpful for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hands on heart.
Right.
All right. Beautiful. Let's all take a breath in and let it out. And again, breath in and let it out.